So you need to be able to execute the process of writing a contract. You need to be able to execute the process of reviewing a contract. And if the writing of the contract, let's just say it takes an hour, it might take longer, it might take less time, I don't know.
15 minutes.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Hello. If you can't give something your full attention for 15 minutes, you're not going to be able to help anyone else. If something that should only take 15 minutes ends up taking you an hour and a half of unfocused, spread out, stressed, anxiety-ridden time. It's just so inefficient. The contract, something is going to go wrong. You're going to miss something, or you're going to have to do it over again, or you're going to have to recheck it. And a 15-minute process ends up taking you 2 hours over the span of however long that takes. That's the vision that you need to have for those things. If you can exact the top 1, 2, or 3 things that must be done well today, and you just have that, forget the calendar. If you know I'm going to be answering the phone at all hours of the day, I'm going to be replying to emails all hours of the day. I am air traffic control. Amy can talk about calendar blocking all she wants, but if I turn on my do not email me during these hours auto reply, people are going to look at me sideways. It's okay if you can't do that. But if you know what your top 3 things are and you get to them to the best of your ability, this is what we talk about eating the frog, or I'm going to do this thing first. I'm going to do the hardest thing first. Or why do we talk about waking up earlier? We talk about waking up earlier because everyone's sleeping. So you wake up earlier, so you get to the office earlier, so that you work on the contract and it only takes you 15 minutes so that you can be air traffic control after that. It's the focus of saying, if I don't give this the 15 minutes, it's going to take me 2 hours. When you realize that it's going to get spread across and it is going to be disorganized and it's going to be less efficient.
Good morning, good life. Welcome back to Coachmas here on Vlogmas. My name is Amy Landino. I'll be taking you on this tour this fabulous month. I can't begin to tell you how awesome this conversation is. I got the opportunity to speak with Liron in Israel, and we all know there's a whole lot going on there right now, and we might unpack that a little bit, but the heart of this conversation is actually centered around some of the same stuff that those of us who are not in a really intense environment right now deal with. And it just goes to show what's really happening and the humanity that's out there. So the perspective from this conversation is going to be immense. We talk a little bit about the fear of putting yourself out there and what that looks like, especially when there's so much perspective about what someone should be talking about at this moment in the world. But we're also going to unpack what it means to set boundaries. And even when you think you absolutely must be on for everyone else, no matter what your job is, that it is possible to save some time for the focused, deep work. You're worthy of it. And what does it mean to actually make that happen? So much to go over with Liron. We're going to get into that in a second. Just a reminder, don't forget to download the Audible version of my latest book, 365 Days of Good Morning, Good Life. It's going to be that 1-2 minute audio punch in the morning that motivates you to start the day on your terms and go after the life you want. We talk about so many different areas that are going to help you out. It's going to be different every day, and I really think it'll make a massive difference in your life. If you do this, make sure you check the link in the description down below. Those of you who download the audiobook will get 3 months complimentary access to all of my premium content at goodmorninggoodlife.tv. So make sure you get your gift if you download the audiobook. Let's get into it with Liron.
If you could, share your name, where you are from, and how we can support you today.
So I'm Liron Goldon, if that makes any difference. I'm from Israel. And basically, first of all, I have to say and embarrass you a little bit because I'm an OG of yours. I just found out
you are.
Guess what? Did you know that I follow you? I followed you for the past 7 years. This is
that's a long time. How did you find me the first time? Do you remember?
Yeah. It's the iconic that every time that I'm talking about you and talking about Vlog Like a Boss or Good Morning, Good Life, I'm the perfect advocator if we're talking business wise, I'm the perfect one because I'm advocating and not just reading the stuff and keeping it to myself. I'm actually sharing. So every time I'm where's that 5 a.m. video that I love? Because I love the way that you speak there. you look so authentic with the camera and everything. And
Thank you.
the editing, I mean, I was just telling my friend today, I've been messing around with editing because I'm doing, okay, so what's going on in Israel, just like a segue a little bit here. We are in a cray zone for real, for real.
Yeah, in a big way.
I'm not the kind of person, like, you can interview a lot of people from Israel and like they're going to talk about like myriad opinions about the Palestinian conflict and everything, not about terror, but about the Palestinians. I'm not one of them. I grew up in Jerusalem. I worked with Arabs all my life. I got upset with people who did bad things, you know, and like, I'm all for peace. But when a group of terrorists is coming inside my country, I'm like, okay, no.
100%.
First of all, I wanted to share this stuff about Israel and about like to show some sort of like a human aspect of it all.
Definitely.
To really like, you know, to show there are people behind the numbers or behind the reports that everybody's like hearing and everything. And that's what I'm basically doing online. I'm not like hopping on a trend and like doing what everybody in Israel, like, you should do like this and this and this for like women's right international day. And I'm like, no, I'm doing it my way. I'm going to speak about it. Like, I'm giving, and that is exactly what you were talking about for so long, you know, that is a part of like, it's a mix between you and Gary Vee. That is like, give it your spin, give it your perspective, because otherwise it wouldn't be authentic. And then what are you doing?
I really appreciate that you said that too, because I almost have a detrimental, visceral reaction when someone tells me I should do something, even if it's a good idea. It's probably a mental illness, but I really think that I will hear advice from someone that's like, you should create something for International Women's Day and talk about, and that is really important. But I have never been excited about jumping on a trend or jumping on an arbitrary date on the calendar unless it truly spoke to me for some reason. There was a really big connection to my heart and what I needed to share from myself on those occasions. Does that mean you should like only fly by the seat of your pants on the calendar? No, I mean, like, it's really great when those things come up, but I completely relate to that, because sometimes when you are so deep in that creative with yourself that you're just tired of hearing what everyone else is about to do when you're so busy and consumed with how you're differentiating yourself. It's just like, okay, I know what everyone else is doing. It's extremely predictable what everyone else is doing. And so that's just not, it's just never really been me. It doesn't mean I don't try things that seem to work in some ways, but yeah, I think it's good for you to always have that North Star of how, making sure that it's for you. For the very longest time, even when I wrote Vlog Like a Boss, I always said, know who your perfect viewer is and talk to that person. And I talked about Charlotte, and I went on and on and on and on and on about this avatar. And it's very important to have that avatar, because the mistake most people make is they talk to a million people, which is really scary. They talk to 0 people, which is just depressing, or they talk to the wrong people, which is like their friends and family. And all the while, if they really just looked at the lens of a camera and a TikTok camera, a blog post article, if they would have looked at it like the person receiving this is the person I do this for, and try to flesh out and identify who that is, they would get so much further, and that performance would be so much better, because it wouldn't be about the algorithms or the concepting or the trends. It would be about making the difference for just at least one person, so that one person can help it continue to spread. And I went on and on and on about that for a long time, and I still believe that deeply. But I also believe that when you're doing this and you're taking on so much risk when you start your own business, or you're taking on risk by putting yourself out there in a personal branding capacity, you do it for someone and you do it for yourself as well. And the two really need to work together, because who you do it for has to be able to accept you doing your absolute best work. And you can only do your best work for the right person, and if you're doing it for you. So I think that's a really important thing to point out. It's knowing who you're talking to and knowing that what you do is coming from your heart and for them, but also knowing that what you're doing, you wake up in the morning every day, you look at yourself in the mirror and you say, I like that about myself. I could stand by that no matter what somebody says to me awkwardly about what I did on the internet today. I can say I believe in it.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I love the pivot that you did on your channel. I actually
Thank
sent you
you.
like the minute that I finished the video, the first video when you say that this is what's going to happen and you don't know what's going to happen, I immediately went on Instagram and I left you a message, like a voice message saying, finally, I missed that Amy. I so missed it.
Oh,
Because
thank
that
you.
Amy
Thank
I
you.
know, and that is like, I got so excited again, you know?
Yeah. Have you heard somebody on the internet say, oh, you're just afraid of success. Like you just have fear of success. We
Yeah,
hear
and
that a
that
lot,
that is
right?
my reaction. Like, like, oh,
Yeah,
come on.
it's like, oh, okay, I'm fearful of success. Okay, great. Why is that the cool thing to say? That is a bunch of crap. Like that is just like a bunch of crap because someone is not fearful of success. They wish for it so bad because they need it to be the permission slip that they can lean on so that if somebody says, I don't like what you're doing or whatever, they can feel more confident to keep at it because they've got an ecosystem of people who are saying, no, but what you're doing works. For the right person, what you're doing works. People want success so bad as a permission slip. We are not afraid of success. That is the biggest load of crap I've ever heard on the internet. What we are afraid of is the fact that it is a requirement to be fully expressed, to be successful. And that is a hard barrier to get over because you have to go through, it's chicken and egg. You have to go through the crap with the people who are going to say, what are you doing? What, like, where did this person come from? Why are you doing that? Why did you post that? I don't like that you posted. I think you should take that down. You're going to get a lot of crap for that. You should really not do that. That's the part of being fully expressed. That's hard. That's the part everyone is afraid of, not the potential. You didn't fail, you got through the mud and you achieved something that speaks to you on the other side. The success, people are not afraid of that. They're afraid of getting to it. They're afraid of working toward it. Full expression and being unapologetically who you are to the point where it's like, okay, you still want to make smart decisions on the internet. You don't want to like post dumb things on the internet that are going to be cached by Google for the end of time that just don't make sense. And people make mistakes all the time and we're not going to be perfect, but you can still be unapologetically fully express yourself and you can fail and you can be a human and you can apologize if you say something incorrect and you can truly mean it and you can keep moving forward. I think you are the best example of, while it's so easy and you're supposed to be in the streets, upset, worrying, and waking up every day with anxiety right now because of the state of the world, you can respect the process of what's going on and what control you have in it, and also be able to say, but I will not let this stop me from living my life. And that's the really interesting thing about you living in Israel and work-life balancing at the moment, because you're proving that I'm only saying that you guys have the power you have if I don't at least try to live my life a little bit here. The fear that's constantly being generated by, am I going to post this? And I have it all the time. Like, it doesn't go away. It's all the time.
Seriously,
It's
after
like
all that time? After all
oh
that
my
time?
gosh, of course, because I've written 3 books. I have traveled the world and spoken on stages. I've been awarded. I've been on TV shows. I've checked all the boxes that you would think friends and family would just be like, she's got her stuff together. Like, we should just, that's all right. That's good. And now I'm building a family. Like, girls got it all, right? It doesn't matter. If I post something that someone doesn't like, and they just happen to know me and they don't like what I post, do you think they're not going to say something to me?
Of course
They're
they
not
would.
going to like it even more because I actually have some power behind it. I actually have some clout behind it. And when I say something, it's actually going to go places, and I'm actually going to lose 200 followers over it. And I'm actually going to make the difference for people who appreciate the fact that I spoke up. It's not just somebody sitting there just spouting off because they don't like what they saw in the news. It's I'm making a conscious decision to say something's not right. So I get it all the time. So I have to constantly think about that. I have to think about my family. I have to think about who I have to talk to if I'm going to make a statement, because it affects more than one person. This never ends. That's what people are afraid of, and rightfully. But we don't get anywhere without being in uncomfortable situations. And it is uncomfortable to have an opinion. A lot of people might make you think that it's very comfortable because they don't seem to stop sharing it. And they go on, and they make you think that they're sharing it so that you will tell them your opposing opinion so that they can tell you why you're definitely wrong and you shouldn't talk anymore. It is uncomfortable to have an opinion that is different from everyone else. But we all have that right. And we all have the right to believe what we believe. And the more we practice living in our beliefs and choosing to express them in the moments that make the difference, that takes a lot of guts and it takes a lot of courage. And that's the part people are afraid of when it comes to success. Believe me, I would love to be able to deliver a laundry list of reasons why, like, oh, don't fight with me about my opinion. Look how reputable I am. Look how much I've done. It doesn't matter. No. You will get that success. You'll be like, thank goodness I have this permission slip, and it still won't matter. The reality is that people are afraid of total, full self-expression. And that's because it's hard.
First of all, how do I balance my content? I mean, I cannot do like I don't know if I can do like my content that is completely sound like part touch from everything else that I'm talking about online, because I've been only like Israel all the time on all platforms, and suddenly I'm going to talk about like creativity and finding yourself and lifestyle.
Yeah. But here's the thing, like it's this layer. It's this layer of who you are right now. It's this layer of the moment in time you're living in. It's this layer of everything. It's a layer that's on top of everything. You can't operate in your world right now without something having to do with the war in some way. So for you to think that you need to compartmentalize between that and the other stuff you talk about, it would be super inauthentic. Let's say for you to completely switch gears, right? You don't need to. You don't need to draw the line. It's like, oh, it's time to only talk about this versus that. You should be able to do both for the same reason I was just saying of you're allowed to continue to live on your life while also respecting the moment in time that's happening. It's not about content. Our content is speaking to people, and people are going through things. And so we as people need fundamentals to help ourselves be taken care of so that we can then take care of others. And I think that's a message that you can very easily speak to at a very complicated time. And your message would not even be necessary if there were no such thing as a complicated time. There's always a complicated time. It's why I'm never afraid to get on a call like this and have no idea what the person's going to say, because I know exactly what they're going to say. Because no matter what the intricate details and nuances are of what's happening in your life right now, we're all dealing with the same fundamental issues, and they come back to a place of fear. That's it.
That is true.
And what triggers your fear is maybe different than the next person, but it's all still the same.
Another thing is being productive while ADHDing AF. Oh my God. Like, time blocking doesn't work for me. I get confided. I feel like so like locked in, and my work does not allow me that at all, because you always have like incoming calls, and like it's like it's like a war. Even when there's not a war, it's like a war room, because like people are like, clients and whatnot, and suddenly like, listen, I have to hang out because my artist is in the middle of nowhere and he needs to get into a show and I don't know where he is, and I need to like check. I know that I'm catering too much to others, and I'm like not. It's the same thing that you keep talking about in your videos, and that's why I'm like repeating some of the videos to get myself into like in line with that, because I do cater to my clients too much. I do give too much and not thinking about my priorities. I give my others the opportunity to manage my time, which is the worst. people pleasing is like the worst.
And what's the balance of really being, it sounds like air traffic control for the business is what you're doing a lot of the time, and that focus work of how long is the contract going to take you?
Writing a contract is like pretty easy to me.
Okay.
Because basically it's like going through a template that you're just like tweaking
sure.
to the same show. It's
tweaking and double checking that it's accurate, which requires attention.
Yeah. And also not with like music industry specific, you need to see that you have like a writer, which is like the requirements for the sound and the lighting and whatnot. And all of that.
M&Ms. Yeah.
Yeah. And advertisement that is going with the right credit. And my artist name is not there's not like a whole lot of like wording on the top of the head of my artist.
That's so much detail. And it's something that you probably now have down to a fundamental process. And this is one of the most important things I talk to anyone about in their business. Whether you're working as an employee or you're running a business, you need to be able to thrive in chaos. But also the business only exists because of how good and how well executed the processes are. So you need to be able to execute the process of writing a contract. You need to be able to execute the process of reviewing a contract. And if the writing of the contract, let's just say it takes an hour, it might take longer, it might take less time. I don't know.
15 minutes.
Yeah. Hello. Like we're talking about what could be 15 minutes. And this is going to be very hard for me to say because it actually could be a life or death situation where you are right now. However, if you can't give something your full attention for 15 minutes, you're not going to be able to help anyone else. If something that should only take 15 minutes ends up taking you an hour and a half of unfocused, spread out, stressed, anxiety-ridden time. It's just so inefficient. The contract, something is going to go wrong. You're going to miss something, or you're going to have to do it over again, or you're going to have to recheck it. And a 15-minute process ends up taking you 2 hours over the span of however long that takes. That's the vision that you need to have for those things. It's okay if you can't figure out calendar blocking. If you can exact the top 1, 2, or 3 things that must be done well today, and you just have that, forget the calendar. If you know I'm going to be answering the phone at all hours of the day, I'm going to be replying to emails all hours of the day, I am air traffic control. Amy can talk about calendar blocking all she wants, but if I turn on my do not email me during these hours auto reply, people are going to look at me sideways. It's okay if you can't do that. But if you know what your top 3 things are and you get to them to the best of your ability, this is what we talk about eating the frog, or I'm going to do this thing first. I'm going to do the hardest thing first. Or why do we talk about waking up earlier? We talk about waking up earlier because everyone's sleeping. So you wake up earlier, so you get to the office earlier, so that you work on the contract and it only takes you 15 minutes so that you can be air traffic control after that. It's the focus of saying, if I don't give this the 15 minutes, it's going to take me 2 hours. When you realize that it's going to get spread across and it is going to be disorganized and it's going to be less efficient. And it's knowing that and practicing it enough times that you refuse to relinquish that standard. It's about the standard that you're holding for the work that you do. And that's what we're talking about. It makes you better as an employee. It makes you better as a boss. It makes you better as air traffic control. You're able to give that phone call your full undivided attention without issue because you know you ate the frog that day. And the contracts are good. They're locked up. They're ready for review of the next party. They probably will kick back some edits, and that's okay. And you go from there. But it's very, very easy to assume you're going to disappoint people by setting standards and setting boundaries when the world is literally falling apart around you. And you might need somebody to go sing at a wedding in 2 hours that you've never even heard of yet. Like, I can understand the scenarios playing out in your head, but you also are only going to be able to do so much. The business without the fundamental processes and what you do for the business and those fundamental processes, that is what's going to keep the business going long terms. They have to be done to the best of your abilities. And the truth of the matter is that when you just don't answer the phone for 7.5 more minutes because it's on do not disturb, or it's silented in some way, or you locked yourself in a room where there is absolutely no one that's going to be able to bother you, and you set a timer for the 15 minutes, and you say, if I am not done in 15 minutes, I have to come up for air and make sure that everyone's okay. But I'm going to sit here for 15 minutes and get this done. When you practice that and you realize, you call the person back and you say, I'm so sorry I missed your call. What can I do for you? You have my undivided attention. You are being heard. I realize you called me. I'm calling you back. I am being fully 100% in this moment. That is all people want. That is all people want. And then when they go, I can't believe you didn't answer the phone. That was just so inconvenient for me. I've been freaking out for 7.5 minutes. This is the end of the world. Just let them do that. That's what they need to do in that moment, because you know what? Whatever they're going through, you don't know, or you do know, or it doesn't matter. You don't know what somebody else that's living and breathing a different body is going through. You let them run. I'm upset. I'm upset. I'm upset. I'm upset. Understood. 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 I'm here now. What can I do for you? I am 100% here now. If you're lucky. If you keep complaining, the other phone might ring, but you do you. But like, you have to know that that is the literal interpretation of I'm putting my mask on first so that then I can help you better, rather than I'm talking to you and I'm still editing this contract. That doesn't serve you, the person that's got to review that contract and approve it, or the person on the phone. You're talking about 3 different attention spans now, because you're trying to figure out how to balance these at the same time. So it's okay if a tactic isn't working, but if you can just say, what is the most important thing right now?
Yeah, that's what I'm having difficulty in.
You have to have that clarity. And a continuing theme in these calls that I've noticed is that we just find ways to get busier, and some ways are required. Like, you recognizing that there is a war is busying you, but it is very required. Like, this is a thing that is affecting lives of the people that are around you and the world that is around you. But it is busying things more. We just have to notice the noise that's happening and find, like, what is the main constant that today, what's the thing I'm inching forward today? What can I at least try? What can I inch forward that's still not going to be done forever? I'm going to do one thing to move it forward. It's the clarity of knowing that's so, so important.
Choosing to be your full, unapologetic self does not mean you don't apologize when you're in the wrong. It doesn't mean you're not going to change your mind in the future. It just means that you embrace who you are in this moment and you're willing to share it with others so you can attract your tribe. There's going to be people who are not your tribe that are paying attention. They might have ideas about what you should know, what they think. It's completely up to you whether you absorb it and what you decide to do with yourself going forward because of it. But I challenge you, touch the water of being fully expressed without saying, oh, I'm sorry, I just want to share my opinion about this real quick. Because you don't need to be sorry. No one else is sorry they're sharing their opinion. You're allowed to have one too. And if you can truly believe in what you stand for, there's all the reason in the world for you to allow it to be known. And that's what's really missing in this world right now. We don't post things to promote ourselves. We don't post things to talk about ourselves. We don't post anything unless it's to help the rest of the world, which is great. But it is possible for you to shine a light on yourself and help the rest of the world at the same time if you were to just try. And then if you want to know if people appreciate you, if you want to know if people like what you got going on, then you probably have a hard time balancing your boundaries and setting standards for how you manage your time because you think you need to be available for everyone. You do not need to be someone else's crutch. You can stand on your own 2 feet and feel good about what you do to help yourself while you're also helping others at the same time. But if we're always worried about the rest of the world first, we're going to take ourselves out of the game. Everyone has their different jobs. Everyone has their different responsibilities. If you need to be checking email all day long, okay, if that's your job, I can't fight you on that. But If you are not setting boundaries for the other work you're expected to do and held accountable for because you think you have to be on email all day long and that was actually not in the description, be honest with yourself, because that is not what people are keeping score on. You think that, oh, if I reply to every email in just a couple of minutes, they're going to notice that. Maybe, but they're also going to notice if the rest of the work is subpar or late or multitasked and not done to the best of your ability. So instead of worrying about how others are keeping score, do your best work every time. I really hope this conversation was helpful for you. If you enjoyed it, please subscribe to this channel. We're doing a lot of Coachmas here during the Vlogmas season. And of course, be sure to download the audiobook, 365 Days of Good Morning, Good Life. I'm so proud of it. It is already helping so many of you. I get lots of DMs and emails saying that it is the thing that they need first thing in the morning. So thank you for that. And I hope you enjoy it. That's all for today. Thank you so much for tuning in. I appreciate it. As always, remember, subscribe for good vibes, kiss the ones you love, and go after the life you want. Cheers.